Hi everyone and welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be recapping the entire US women's national team year. We're going to be going back all the way to New Zealand in January to see how 2023 has panned out for the team with some game commentary, roster reviews, and overarching thoughts. Let's get into it. Let's jump right into the New Zealand friendlies, which is the way we started this year. On January 17th and January 20th, the US played New Zealand in New Zealand, and they started the year with a bang. 9 goals over those two friendlies, and 3 of them were scored by none other than Mallory Swanson. She was hitting her stride coming into this year with an average of 1.3 goals per 90 minutes, and that's an average she maintained since January of 2022. I'm linking a graph on the screen for you to see just how impressive that is, even compared to other goal scorers. So I'm really sad we did not get to see this develop in the World Cup in the later half of the year because she's not going to get that time back ever, to be honest. But she's going to come up quite a bit in this beginning half because of how impactful she was. But the second thing I want to get into was the number 9 scoring. Something that the US has struggled with over this later half of the year was converting chances. But in these 2 games, in the first one, Alex Morgan as the 9 and Ashley Hatch in the second game, they both converted their chances. And I think that was a great way to start the year, and it really indicated the chemistry and fluidity of this team in those matches, which is very important. The third thing I want to mention is also the defensive quality that came along with this. Naomi Girma specifically, she got her first cap in 2022. So at this point, she'd been playing with the team for under a year, but she honestly plays like a veteran. She has that kind of composure. And at this point, Cook and Girma were kind of vying for that position, playing sometimes along with Becky Sauerbrunn. So that combination was something we were going to watch out for to see how it developed over the year. But overall, the defensive quality, the number of shutouts they had, especially in these 2 games, super impressive. Along with the really good stats we saw, 0 shots for New Zealand in that first game, 22 for the US in that 5-0 win, 70% plus possession in both games, 80% plus pass accuracy. I know it was an overall weaker opponent, but these are signs of a good chemistry and a really healthy team. About a month later, we come into the She Believes Cup. This is a 3-match tournament played in the middle of February with Canada, Japan, Brazil, and the US. And the US won this tournament without losing a single match. A question I had going into this was, would they be able to maintain that same level of dominance and possession? And honestly, I think that would be super unrealistic to expect because New Zealand is a much weaker opponent than these top-ranked teams. But something I do want to focus on is getting the job done. They scored goals, and that's important because that's what wins matches. Especially in that game against Japan, they had much fewer opportunities, but Swanson pounced when it mattered and converted for a 1-0 win. And that's a theme that I think we're going to keep coming back to. In addition to this, we saw veterans Alex Morgan, Rose Lavelle, Becky Sauerbrunn, Megan Rapinoe still being leaders of this team, but we also saw new stars starting to emerge. For example, Trinity Rodman played in this tournament, leading the next generation, and I think this tournament made it look like the US was in pretty good shape for the World Cup. Okay, so now we arrive at April 8th and April 11th, where the US played 2 friendlies against Ireland. And even though they were just friendlies, they had a big bearing on the team because of 2 injuries that came in the first game. Mallory Swanson, who tore her ACL, and Rose Lavelle, who injured her knee. And these are 2 crucial players and leaders for the team, so it was a big blow. After, in the second game, I think there was a lack of chemistry between players, and even though Alana Cook scored her first goal for the team in a 1-0 win, it was a low percentage shot from distance, and the team looked out of sorts and definitely lacking the clinical finishing skill in front. And I think this is one of the areas that Vlatko Andonovski as a coach specifically fumbled. Even when there were issues during the generational transition for the team, big players patched them up. But with injuries stacking up, exposing some of the underlying tactical issues that couldn't be hidden anymore, his inability to respond and change things up was one of his big downfalls. Finally, we are at July 9th, which was the day of the send-off game the US played against Wales right before they left for the World Cup. I actually got to watch this live in San Jose, and it was a really amazing experience. Something that popped out to me from the beginning was partnership between Girma and Cook. we would not be seeing this happen for the rest of the year, but I was really wowed by Garma from the beginning. Not just her assuredness in her role that I already talked about, but her ability to bring up the ball and even play it through for a run up the wing. She had some really good passes, and we saw that throughout the rest of the year. Cook, too, I think she had some really good ideas, but it was slightly sloppier, and at times when a little bit of a heavier pressure was exerted, I felt like she fumbled it in key places that better teams would have capitalized on. As for the attack, I was really happy to see fast and creative players like Alyssa Thompson and Sophia Smith, but none of them seemed to have the finishing quality that Swanson had. They would really do the work to get the ball to the edge of the box, but they would lose it right there. And I think that could also come down to the fact that I think Sophia Smith was underutilized, especially due to the position she played, but I will go more into that in the next video about the World Cup. I did want to also point out Trinity Rodman because I think here again she scored 2 goals. She made her impact felt, especially now that she'd been playing consistently in every game leading up to this. So I was really excited to see how her World Cup would be. And another player that I was also excited to watch out for was Lindsay Horan, because watching her live made me realize just how important her stabilizing role in the midfield was, as well as her captaincy, which we'd see develop over the rest of the year. So watch out for the next video because we'll be talking about all of these things, answering questions and getting into the World Cup, friendlies in the latter half of the year, and overarching thoughts for what I think this year has been about. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you're excited to see the video.